Hello and welcome to Red Lines. Now, Red Lines is a program that we get to discuss the faults in our characters, the fault lines in our human relations and development. Today is Children's Day. Happy Children's Day. And with me to speak extensively on these topics is Chioma Ikejani. Say hello to the children.
I am happy to be here today, but more happy because it's Children's Day. And on behalf of Red Lines, I am wishing all the children in Nigeria a happy Children's Day.
All right. And seated next to my right is Josie Itoya Splendor. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. For all the men who report their wives to their mothers, happy Children's Day. For all the women who report everything to their dads, happy Children's Day.
What about the children? Josie, let me come to you. What is the current status of the Nigerian child?
In the thick of 0 to 100,
Yeah.
20.
Wow.
Sad to say. And it's particularly sad because no one is speaking for them. Not even the people that are responsible for them. In recent times, we've actually been seeing a lot of things. Now, I think the major problem is this. We are still held up in the archaic belief that if you don't introduce violence in raising children, they won't get the message. And I think parents, we also raise kids according to our own generation, not belief, not understanding that you're actually very different from your child. Even if you give birth to a child when you're 20, you're almost like 2 decades different, not talking about your 30s. So imagine using your mindset of 30 years ago to raise a child that you're 30 years above or 20 years above. So there's a problem. So I think the inability to understand what's going on about a particular generation is a fundamental problem. And where you won't blame a lot of parents, there's no school that teaches you to be a parent. Mm-hmm. We basically reintroduce what we learned from our parents on our kids, because that's the last time we saw parenting. I never did this to my mother. I never talked back at my father. When I'm talking, you shut up. These children of nowadays. Oh, yes. And funny enough, the Generation Z, Generation Alpha, these are people who are born in an era of information age. And they can access every information with just the phone. So before you finish telling them that you don't eat in the dark, spirits will come. They're already Googling it. They're going to lie. You say, you know the fear. Your mother lie.
But you know what? I'm sort of listening to you and I'm conflicted.
Okay.
I'm a little conflicted because when I came here, I see little kids that are selling food on a school day. Is that abuse? That was odd to me. That was weird. It's like, what is going on with these kids?
When they should be in school.
When are we gonna get it right? This is not normal, but it's normal. So you said that we have gadgets that we as adults know better. So is it the government's fault? Is it the private sector fault? Is it our fault that we consistently allow children to become adults?
Yeah.
Before their time.
That's child abuse.
We give them the responsibility of taking care
That's the problem. So when you look at child abuse, that is child abuse.
It is child labor.
That child, when it goes out, confronts all sort of things that adults confront that they should not be confronted.
They should be protected.
They should be protected in a school environment. Mm-hmm. So what is wrong with this? That's the first question. That's what I thought when I came home. I thought, oh my God, what? Shall I leave that matter? They walk, the parents, they chase them. And I'm thinking, why would you give a child that responsibility of catering? Think about that for a minute, right? So that in itself is child abuse.
It is.
And then that child will now go home instead of being protected after being molested. Because when you're verbal abuse, how many people are going to be spitting at that child?
Say that again.
So the child in Nigeria right now is I think is an existential threat.
He's under siege.
So here's the thing: we our parents now demand, Chuma, you must get married.
That's even another one.
I'm just, so where is that not abuse?
No, I think there's
so many ways that children are abused in this country.
Mm.
Sexually, verbally,
Financially.
because if you make children to go on the street to start fending for the family,
spending for the family.
no, it's not right.
But I don't know our culture don't frown like that. That is your child that feeds you. With all the pride we assume the African family society
That's what I found so conflicting when I came here.
You know, it's actually ironical. Growing up, one of the reasons why polygamy thrived in Africa is the fact that you need to give birth to kids so they could help you on the farm.
That was in the agricultural.
That is what I think it's that
revolution.
concept that some people still grow.
Okay, that
go and fetch water.
metamorphose,
That the child is to serve them, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So which is still a bad norm from our culture. You are supposed to provide for the children, but your child is not. No, go fetch water, go and sell water, pure water, go on. So they see the child as an extension to serve them.
But do you remember that story that you just told about the young girl being beaten? So let me ask you a question. Now, what is the punishment or what is the consequences to the parents?
I think you need to tell us that story again.
Right? Because
No, you know more about it than I do.
in other countries,
Mm-hmm.
that parent will be jailed.
Yes.
Because there are laws that are implemented, right?
Sure.
You cannot beat your child to stupor and then put it online, right? So what laws do we have that is going to protect that child from being beaten to a stupor? Because if that child goes to the police station, what kind of reception do you think the police will give that child?
They'll add to the beating.
Because you said online, a lot of people were already hailing the act.
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
I said
it was
kidding me.
heroic.
What? When I discussed
yes.
this with some people, they were like,
Those girls deserve
yes,
it.
we are the ones that want to spoil Nigeria with Oyibo things. How can this girl go out? In fact, they say, what's wrong with the naked? She has already naked herself before the world. I say, Now tell me, are they trying to save this girl? Or they're trying to save the family name? Because that's a great question. Now, who is even going to marry this your daughter now that you have shown to the world that she's a prostitute?
Oh.
How is that girl going to raise up? Every day she watched that food that her brothers and her dad.
But you know
eating
what?
that
Let me come up with another angle. Because does it mean that if a young girl is using the social media, right, in her private setting to do whatever she's doing, she's not going to a bar, she's not going to a club, she's at home, does that make her a prostitute?
No, I think that site is actually a porn site. She was doing that to earn money.
Yes.
So she's in the wrong, no doubt. The argument is that treatment
Yeah.
the right treatment to cure that girl? Because I believe she can still be salvaged from that.
Because I think the punishments went into overdrive. It was overdone.
Exactly.
It was overdone.
So let me ask you a question. So a little girl that's 8 years old that is locked in a room for 8 months, is that child abuse?
13.
13 months. Is that child abuse?
13-year-old.
Okay, she's 13 years. Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, in Sokoto, a family locked up a girl in a room for 8 months because they believed she had mental issues. It took the police to rescue that girl. She was actually a bag of bones. And my argument was, who diagnosed her to be mentally incapable?
Understand.
That's the same question I'm asking.
But even if you diagnose her to be mentally whatever,
Why would you
What
lock
treatment
is
her up?
that an institution? Is that locking her in a room a mental institution?
It's still the same family name before she disgraces us. Let them know say there's a mad person in our family. That's what they do to people who are mental. In fact, a lot of people don't even know that there are mental cases called bipolar.
Yeah, bipolar disorder.
So they do that. You don't expose that any member of your family is mad. It's an abomination. So they lock them up. So you see, we're having problems now with our supposed tradition.
Is it the
rights.
lack of education? Because I have issues, I'm going to say, because I think that we just marry just for the sake of marrying, because there's pressure of marrying. So when you marry, you have to have children right away because there's pressure to have children. And I think that we as a society, because I love Nigerians, we're very smart people. We're very smart, and so many countries are so jealous of us. But when we come into our own country, I don't know why we're not doing the right things, right? We're just not doing the right things. There's too much pressure. you know, I think if I grew up here, I would have been, they would have just dealt with me to get married, right? Like they would just think, what is wrong with this girl? You're just disgracing the family name and you must get married. Because there's so many things that comes with marriage. You know, in marriage, in order to be responsible, you know, they want you to have children. Your mother is there saying, oh, I have to carry my grandchild. You're disgracing me. You know, your friend has gotten married. What's wrong with you? So are we really, because when you get married, there's responsibilities. And are we ready to have those children? Do we have the right resources? You know, don't you love it? God will take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? I don't even understand.
We hide behind that.
The truth is, well, like I said, it's still a cultural thing. You are not seen as a complete or successful adult if you're not married. Even more if you have no children. Even much more if you have no male child.
But why do you think that there's such a rising scourge of child abuse in Nigeria? It is found. It is increasing. Why is that?
Yeah, I think the reason we're having this conflict now is because people are now rising up to the fact that look, this can't continue. And with the coming up for the social media, most of these things are happening close, even to your next door neighbor. You're not even like, it's the Agarawa, you move on. But now everybody's business is everybody's business. It's only on our faces. And we're not asking the question, is this right? Even when you say it's not right, okay, now let's look at the fact that, okay, you said something like what I was trying to say, we need to break this into sections. Emotional abuse, financial abuse, and
sexual abuse.
We tried trashing the sexual last time.
Yeah.
The rape of minors.
Yeah.
And even that rape thing extends because it's not just, there was a time in lawyer schooled us between assault and molestation.
Well, because when you get molested as a child and you don't deal with it, what happens is you now start assaulting, right? When you grow up. So
you become a molester too.
It becomes a cycle, a vicious cycle.
Becomes a vicious
right?
cycle. Yeah, it goes. The same thing, maybe somebody was forced. Okay, for instance, I never had to do so much growing up. I mean, beyond, I didn't have to carry stuff in my head and go out. So there's no way I'm going to give that to my child. So you see, this same thing is, like I said, the first person you saw parenting are your parents.
Your parents are your first.
Yeah, so you not go back and say, this is what we did. It's like, I remember one of my friends saying one time, the mother will force them to use the grinding stone to grind everything, even though the dad bought blender. She said no, because she had all girls. I said, no, I don't want people to grind. Your husband will be sending you home. Not knowing that by the time the daughters grew up, we had everything. Even
technology has changed a lot of
things. So you see, so half the time we are raising on a very wrong foundation. So like I try to tell my boys, I said, look, I want to be able to see that by form 15, we can both sit in the living room and we're discussing politics. So half the time they come to me with issues, I say, go and check it, go and Google it. Learn to take responsibility of finding out answers. Now, don't always think you have me to provide it. So when you come and say, okay, what do you think you should do?
You know what I think we should do?
Yeah.
We're going to go on break. Stay right there. Don't go. Just hold on.
All right.
It's a taboo in Africa. It's a taboo to be human rights.
And of course, we talked about the health implications.
Why the sudden increase in the rate of suicide in Nigeria?
Welcome back. We're still on child abuse. Now, there's a story of a young girl called Joy who was locked away for 8 months in a cage by her aunt and her husband. Incidentally, this woman was called Mama Happiness. Now, story said that as soon as they got home, they got to the new house. They asked the landlord to build them a cage, not knowing that cage was for the girl.
Oh my God.
And that this woman in particular has no good relationship with anybody, Mama Happiness.
So she's a toxic person.
Yes, so toxic that she built a cage for a child she considered mad. If that isn't child abuse, what is? Excellency.
I don't even think child abuse is enough word to define such a woman. Because obviously she has mental issues. She herself is mental, she's mad. Her level of madness is unprecedented. It's brutal.
Savage. She still belongs in the animal kingdom.
Yes, she needs to be examined. She needs to be subjected to psychiatric tests. And does she have a child of her own?
Yeah, 2 daughters.
Okay.
And then the one that's knocking at night, the mad one.
It's unfortunate.
See, I'm bringing out
So there's a cycle of madness in that family
You are trying to say
for the
something
woman to
about
do that.
What do we do to parents like this? Is there any law? It's unfortunate we don't have
A lawyer in the house. Yes. And we can get an expert opinion.
Yeah, you know, the thing that worries me is as much as we as Nigerians spend more time outside, right? The weather, everything.
Mm.
My worry is we are a nation that has the highest percentage of youths. We just have a lot of young people.
Yeah.
So what happens is, what is the role of government in protecting the child? So for example, you know, in developed countries, they have recreational activities. There's the YWCA, for example, where kids can go and they have activities for kids and those kids are looked after. At what point do we put policies in place that will protect the child? What are some of the infrastructural developments that are geared towards young kids? So for example, when you look at the schools, do we, I mean, when I see, I don't see things that are built where kids can play after school, right? I mean, you're laughing at me, you're thinking, what is this girl talking about? But you know what I'm saying, right? So,
Looking for recreational centers.
So, as much as we are, you know, we haven't read the Industrial Revolution, that should not be excused for doing the right thing for the child. Act. That's where I'm at. What role does government play? What role does the private sector play? Because if we don't put things in place that can be implemented, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna get worse.
True. More worrisome is the fact that a lot of people think the minute they steal government money, send their kids abroad, they're okay. Now, what they don't know, life is this: those kids of yours that you think you've given the best, they're going to come and live in the same country with the children you're neglecting.
Exactly.
And if they are 2 years old now, and yours is 2, yours is schooling in, paying fees of over 2.something million, and then in fact, we won't talk about some other things happening. You could afford to pay the fees of a child for 3 months, 2.5, but a full-grown adult working for you, you're paying 50,000.
We sometimes shy away because we don't want to get involved. We don't, it's just too much wahala. I have my own family issues. Do you know I actually made the decision to take Nana and put her in a school, pay for the school. If you see Nana today, fine girl. Oh my God. Fine girl. And I can show you the pictures.
Wow.
She's beautiful. And if you see her the day that I took her to the school, she was sitting in my lap, and I remember she did something and the teacher said, this girl is very smart. And I said, yes, that's why I'm bringing her here. So let's talk about what role, when you raise a child, a village raises a child. You know that saying?
It takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child. So, is there any?
Did she say a village or a community?
No, she said it takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child.
And it's a model from Africa she was referring to.
So, what responsibility do we have to do the little that we can do for a community, for an individual, for a child who has nobody? I mean, I'm now responsible for looking after Nana. She's so cute little thing. And she's completely changed.
No,
she is confident.
Yes.
The little girl that was rejected today is feeling proud because guess what? She knows unconditional love. So a lot of these kids don't have unconditional love. Can we talk about that for a minute? Our moderator, Mayowa.
Not a moderator, Mayowa. Love walking. No, actually, it's a collective thing for all of us, but governments, parents, and individuals, like you have stepped in for Nana. It's what we need to do, because in the past, it takes a communal, it takes a village to raise a child, so much so that Hillary Clinton had to make it the text of our essay on children. So we're saying that on Children's Day, we should all come collectively and raise a child, raise the African child, raise the Nigerian child, and children all over the world, so that we can stop all this damage of sex abuse, of physical, verbal abuse of children. What's your take, Josie, on a final note?
That's like when the community finish taking care of you, they also come and demand from you as well.
Yes.
Actually, I think in Nigerian society is well. There was a case of this girl that was saying, what was her name now, from Delta State, that was saying something, hey, no, therefore beat me.
Yeah, success.
Success. You need to see the monies that poured in when people saw that that's the girl who wanted to go to school. Say, must you chase me away from school? Everybody want to go beat me, they go flog me, tire. So I think the Nigerian on the street, we know how to help ourselves.
True.
Yes, the next drive is for government to now begin to put certain things. And I still believe the problems we have is the religious and the ethnic view to raising the child. So it's platforms like this that will have to force the government to do stuff. Okay, now, what's going to happen to Mama Happiness over what she just did to Joy? Nobody's going to hear this anymore. So if the police are taking drastic steps to stop this, if you see, okay, like I remember in Ekiti State, they started doing shaming.
Yeah.
When a man rapes,
sex offender,
they put the picture everywhere. Now that's a good way of.
Thanks to Mrs. Fayemi.
So that's something else. So people are thinking twice about raping and even molesting.
True.
Then this other one. Now there's something that happened one as a means of closing. A boy was asking me for money at about 7 o'clock recently.
A little boy?
Yeah, say about 12.
Wow.
He said, well, auntie, if you give me money, I'll go. If you see me tomorrow, carry police, they arrest me. It was a well-rehearsed line.
Wow.
Because when I see them like that, I ask them, what are you doing? You should be in school. Don't beg. I'm not going to give you money. We should stop enabling these people. It's like the other day we saw a woman with 2 children begging. And I'm like, you don't know what you're exposing these kids to. So if we stop by the road and say, come
How
on,
about the one that's pregnant with 2 kids?
and they hold them and they carry them and they beg with them. You know, they put children through all sorts of things.
Understand.
That is wrong.
Yeah.
True.
She's not the person that asked you to bring them to the world. And now you're turning them to beg. So at that age, you see the child looking at you, expectancy.
Yes.
They become street urchins.
Yes.
And then in our bid to be nice, we're enabling them.
Yes.
So we should begin to talk to these children. What are you doing here? Why are you not in school? If we all take that as our first responsibility, as okay, what's your school
I
fees?
agree.
True.
We'll help like Nana.
Yeah.
Then we also have to force the government, because I remember when I watched some movies that back to the 16th, 17th century of UK, it was a completely messed up society.
Yes.
There's this soap they
Yeah.
call the Harlots. Britain was a messed up society. And that was what gave rise to the Oliver Twist days.
I was just about to
Yes.
say that. Yeah.
When Jean was introduced to UK,
Yeah.
and parents were getting drunk,
Yeah.
naming their children beg. It
Yeah.
was a complete
Yeah.
insane. That was
Look at the
that
society
was what
today.
gave rise to that
Oliver
Florence
Twist.
Nightingale.
Yes.
Yeah, because of what they were able to checkmate this.
Yeah.
So what did they do
Yeah.
to turn their society around?
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
The truth is, we must grow. We must grow, and the children, and not just the future, they're also the now.
True.
So I think as a way of parting, the child next door is the same as a child as the one from your womb. Because at the end of the day, we are all caretakers. Whether they are from your womb or somewhere, God gives you children. So
True.
this story of saying adopting it, no, I feel it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Even at, you know, so.
But you know, I'd like to end off in a fantastic positive note. I think that there's a lot of Nigerian youths, even children, that are doing amazing things.
Are you kidding?
True.
Emanuela. I remember, I was in Nigeria then when I watched this little girl. And she was small and I thought, oh my God, what is she doing? And I've watched her grow up, and it's a sense of pride. So we are extremely talented.
Yes.
And I think that doing red lines and doing programs like this actually puts the focus out there that parents need to look at Emanuela and children like Emanuela as role models
True.
in terms of really bringing a positive representation to the Nigerian child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, on that note, we end Red Lines for today. We'll celebrate the Nigerian child. We'll celebrate the African child. And Josie Toya, thank you for rubbing your minds with us.
Always a pleasure.
Chioma Ikejiani. It's been wonderful, all of us talking together about the Nigerian children.
Thank you.
And keep watching out for the red lines. You never know.